Hello there, I'm Scontless, and this is TEPPEN Deck Tech, where I present to you decks that are fun, strong, or interesting. Today, I am frenzied, because we are playing, unfortunately, the worst new archetype in a long time, Purple Frenzy. So, in search of more power, we are playing a second engine in the form of evidence, to add consistency to our cards, and give us a back-breaking gimmick to steal the strongest cards in the meta. Along with Vergil's most volatile super, we are playing what I can only call an all-or-nothing control deck that is always moments from stealing the game. The problem children of the deck are the frenzy cards. Daniela is the perfect example. Genuinely strong, especially when allowed to perform Judgement Cut, triggering her Decimate with DMC style. But to be that good, she is always a two-card combo. The same goes for Annette Birkin, who has good stats and draws a card if we have a card to make her do it, usually being Debilitas. This is a 4 MP 2/6 that debuffs another unit to trigger Daniela or Annette and bounce an enemy unit. Excellent against Burn Red, the #1 deck in the meta, but once again this does take another card. However, Debbie is not a picky creature and doesn't even need a frenzy unit, just any non-frenzied unit, which is where our evidence units come in. Natalie and Jean-Chan are where this deck becomes toolboxy. Natalie drawing 1 and enabling Debbie alone takes this deck from feeling clunky to a bit whimsical, maybe. And Don-chan can threaten 8 direct unblockable with Vergil's super every time it hits the field. And people know it. The second I play this guy, people fear him, rightfully. And Daimyo's dog, Pincher, the all-around perfect unit that every purple deck plays, is also part of evidence. Collecting 1 every attack does make a big difference in getting us to our big meta-breaking tech card, Charm Any Beast. The very strongest card in the meta right now is arguably Steel Headsman Verdugo, a 5 MP unit, and with dive attack stolen to our side of the field, victory is virtually guaranteed. The same goes for shutting down Green Frenzy by stealing Shara Ishvalda, and any card from Dark Invitation. So if we face those 3 decks, we have a huge, awesome advantage, but otherwise, it's still pretty good against other, like, green or red decks. Red Frenzy, it's especially, but our 2 most important effects being MP specific makes this deck a little bit matchup reliant. Thankfully, we do have good generic tools, thanks to Frenzy for once. Giganox is the best blocker in purple, perfect to contest anything. And Anacharis is a huge tempo swing, perfect to choke out a match at the right moment, as long as he has Frenzy and the 2-card combo. I guess I shouldn't harp on it too much, since it's the gimmick of the deck, but being unable to play an Anacharis onto a Frenzied Giganox or Debilitas will come up if you play the deck enough. On the other hand, you can just debuff the same card multiple times to somewhat get around the issue. And last of all, some Frenzy Fun-ofs. Burial is a fun way to trigger our Annettes and Danielas, or refund some MP in response to a kill spell. Nightmare Hide and Seek is so sick and able to shut down a dive attack at its absolute peaks, but is a little inconsistent. Then we've got the 1 negate, 1 more brainwashed, and official Navi's power, because killing anything is a good effect. 1 more evidence gimmick, just to spend evidence on, really. And finally, Waxen Scream Lilith. Look at the melting wing. And her fingers, obviously. I mean, let's just appreciate the art. And I'm sorry if you don't like it, but if you play this deck, you're gonna want to have this card on field, spooking out your opponent for as long as possible, until she melts away. She's not only a huge advantage engine, but is also the best card to use as fodder for our debuffs. Strongest of all is Lilith's hidden effect, to make black players discard their Quake or activate Dark Destruction for no effect. It will happen all the time, and it's incredible. Here's the deck QR for you, and with all that said, let's get into it. Game 1, we are up against Chun-Li Kikosho, Green's best top-tier contender, and a deck you're probably going to see a lot more of this next season. Thankfully, it's the deck we're most prepared for. So, hopefully we'll be able to show off exactly how we plan to beat it. We'll start things off with our best starter, Natalie, and our opponent does the exact same with Namehage. They trade out evenly, and we'll get both our respective decks going. We both spent the same amount of MP, and our opponent will break the stalemate with Horned Bully. We'll activate Official Navi's Power, just about the best answer in our deck for Horned Bully, and we draw into an even better answer with Brainwash, which we will use on Horned Bully with the intent of forcing our opponent to play into the ONP. They have to basically trade with their Horned Bully at any negative that it might be to them to avoid OMP, and they play down Blanca, which is not a very good trade for that card, and we are able to eat their feline with Natalie, and then our opponent will play down their first Char Ishvaldo, which we are fully prepared for with our Steel, and the insurance for the single card that could counter it, Limb Reaper. They had it, and we had the one negate, which will take Char to our side of the field and give us massive momentum to carry us for the rest of the game. We go for Judgment Cut, just a minute too late, I'm not quite that nice, and our opponent is able to go for Sherry with a very greedy Hikosho just to block the Judgment Cut, and we are able to defeat her and get in some damage. They play it on a Horned Bully in the top lane, which is able to trade out with the sealed Shara, and we will play down Daniela in the middle, while our opponent plays down their Sherry again to defeat our bottom unit. We will play down Donchan in the top lane and Daniela to collect more evidence, and our opponent will use Shield, which gives us the chance to go for Burial to activate Daniela and eventually get us some free MP. Daniela will gain agility, and our opponent's Junie will be able to defeat our Daniela. They will play down their Pekko, which we are able to one-shot with a perfectly timed Judgment Cut. They summon, surprisingly, the unfrenzied Blanca. They shuffled back with Junie, which, because it was unfrenzied, you'd have to re-frenzy it. It doesn't summon anything when we destroy it with Anakaris. And at this point, we are just about to choke out the game, but our opponent will make one last-ditch effort with their Shara, Ishvaldo, and Kikosho, but in the top lane, they did not block, and we take lethal with Judgment Cut. Game 2, we are up against one of the titans of TEPPEN, a consistent rank 1 competitor, playing the best deck of the format, Morizo on Dive Attack. At the least, it's the deck we've put the most thought into how we'll beat, so hopefully, as long as I don't screw this up, we have got a chance. We'll start things off with Natalie, and our opponent will play down Sparta, which we can bounce with Debilitas. They then go for Shiranui into Dexoyama, and we use a second Debilitas to bounce their Shiranui. That's not what we wanted at all, because it gives them the chance to Shiranui a second time with their Yuri, which will level up both of their units fully, giving them burn 5 already, and they will activate Red Armor to defeat our Debilitas. Will respond with the free MP they gave us, and that will give them enough MP to go for a second Red Armor. It might seem like a waste, but that gets them up to burn 9 within the first minute of the match. We can use Daniela with the official Navi's Power we activated to defeat their Sparta, and we will go for Anakaris, which just finishes off their Sparta, unfortunately, and when we go for Judgment Cut, our opponent will activate Battle Chip Nina, which we try to negate, giving them the MP for Red Armor to defeat our Anakaris. He might have survived if we didn't try to negate. Our opponent will then go for Dive Attack, which will potentially take control of the game. Thankfully, we can defeat Sparta in the top lane and go for Judgment Cut, effectively playing through Dive Attack with a deck you would never expect to be able to do it. And in the bottom lane, we can block their Yuri at the second its Dive Attack expires, defeating it, surviving with one attack, but our opponent goes for Shiranui into Yuri, into Verdugo, and Dive Attack. But at this moment, we have built up the evidence for our Steel Charm in a Beast, but we're extremely greedy and went too late. We do not have the MP for the second one that could have stolen their Yuri when they go for Battle Trip Falstrax. This cripples our Verdugo, and when they go for Scion and Silver, and the follow-up, they are able to wipe our board, and we surrender. Game 3. I have learned my lesson, and I will be as patient as needed. I will forgo any preconceptions of good content, and there is no low I will not sink to defeat Oichi with this deck. I hope I don't have to, but you all know the deck, and I think we know what it's gonna take to win. We'll start things off with Natalie, and our opponent starts with Keyboard Mary, easily defeating it, but we can trade out with another 3 MP, going 6 for 6, leaving us both even on life and MP, and our opponent goes for a second Skeleton Mary, which we will respond to with official Navi's Power. And at this point, when our opponent goes for the self-destroy, I think we can all see exactly what shape this game is about to take. We have unlocked the forbidden skill of TEPPEN, something only whispered about on the dregs of salt, something that I would dare not ever subject you guys to, except in the most dire of circumstances, playing the worst deck I've played on TDT. But it needs to happen, and this is something I've wanted to talk about for a while. Don't skip ahead, I've got something to say. This is the most hated feature of TEPPEN, is waiting for your opponent, but we are doing it with a purpose. Most people wait just to see if their opponent will go first to go for the punish, and they've internalized this fear of going first, where if they go first, they are losing by default. Some people just can't even conceive of going first, but we already have the exact moment we want to play in mind. I've even seen players report their losses where they have gone down to the last minute playing 0 cards where both of them lose, asking for an incentive to go first. Girl, you lost, and you played 0 TEPPEN. That's your incentive. If you want to play TEPPEN, play TEPPEN. In every video I upload, I am always going first, and we had the exact plan to play a card at 142, waiting out our opponent, reducing the amount of time they have to stall us out and get into the grind game. They are forced to go for their destroy. We respond just to charge MP and allow our opponent to get a revive, getting some more evidence, but because they had no evidence, their unit will be destroyed on attack. They played on Black Emperor because they have to put on the aggression. They have no choice. We are forcing them to play, and we will go for Don-chan into Daniela, into Anakaris, and we will go for the Judgment cut on Daniela, which our opponent will have to go for another taking down a peg because they have to stop any damage with the short amount of time left in the match. This is going exactly according to plan. We just have to get in 9 damage. We will go for our Daimyo's Dog Pincher, but unfortunately our opponent has the reaction speed to block with a Keyboard Mary. Thankfully our dog survives, but when our opponent goes for a second Keyboard Mary, they will defeat the dog, and we will be able to steal it to our side of the field. This time our opponent has no destroys. Our timing is perfect, our plan is perfect, and it's all coming together. We will get in 3 damage. After waiting all this time to turn things around, our opponent will go for Lord Raptor, which will obviously lose to Keyboard Mary's death effect. We will play down our Debilitas with 3 attack, as well as Natalie doing whatever we can to get on pressure, and our opponent will play another revive, getting back Keyboard Mary, which we are able to steal again, forcing out a destroy. This does, of course, getting more damage with Natalie in the middle lane, and we have the chance to go for Judgment cut. This time we are nice with it, getting our opponent down below our life, and they just have the MP at the last second to activate their revive, but they have no more time than that, and we win Game 3. Here we are again, and I've got to explain that last game. It came off a little more heated in the excitement than I intended, and a little less nuanced. I believe going first is a skill in TEPPEN, one that people will seem unwilling to develop. Plenty of decks have the ability to go first, even if they're not designed to. Halt is a perfect example. When this was the best deck, it won by playing reactively in the responsive way that people hate playing first into. But the deck was able to play first because those punishes were so strong. If you were to just throw away a Rosencrantz to get your opponent to play first, you would be able to hit them for a huge punish. Plenty of other decks are even better at going first than that because it's part of the game plan. This deck I had a lot of trouble with before I added Natalie and Don-chan, who are amazing for going first. whatever deck you are playing, you should make an effort to learn how to go first with that deck if you have to. Sure, it might be better to go for a punish, but you should have that tool in your pocket to go first when you have to. That said, this deck it's pretty bad. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But it's versatile and it can steal plenty of wins. It's great against lower tier decks. So if your goal is just to reach champion, this will do the job easily. Anytime I'm against an A rank player, I feel like I've got more than a chance. It's only against high rank players on meta, specifically Ouroboros, and stuff that we don't have the steals for, that's a problem. And with the supplementals coming, I don't think things are gonna change at all for the deck. The amalgam is gonna require you to play the horrible spirit monsters, which just don't work at all. And sure, it's not revealed yet, but I don't think the boss monster is gonna change it. The action will probably be worth playing, and you can just cut the VIP discovery and nightmare hide and seek to make room for that, depending on what it does. But otherwise, I think this is just about the best you're gonna do with Purple Frenzy. And I do have a budget version for you, of course, but this really doesn't resemble the deck at all because we have to remove all the power cards if we're playing only commons and epics. So instead, we're focusing on sending stuff to our graveyard using draws to set up the 10 unit card. It's a terrible gimmick, but I even tested it in ranked because I wanted to see if it worked at all. In 7 games, I was able to consistently activate the 10 unit card and play down a V that got huge and lose every single match, so it works exactly as designed. Let me know if you guys liked the part of the video where I didn't play any cards. As for the next episode, we're gonna be messing around with some of the new supplementals, I think, or maybe just playing some good old Nergigante. Thank y'all for watching. Please like the video if you liked the video, subscribe if you subscribed. Once again, I'm Sconchulus, and I'll see you in the next one.